And Oman's ruler, Sultan Qaboos bin Said, is in the Iranian capital, Tehran, and head of a high-ranking delegation. Now, the Omani king was received by Iran's foreign minister, Mohammad Javad Zarif, at Tehran's Mehrabad airport. Following his arrival, he met with President Hassan Rouhani, who said Iran-Oman ties are crucial in restoring peace and stability to the region. Rouhani says that Iran will be following up the issue with other regional countries as well. Sultan Qaboos called for boosting bilateral trade and economic ties with Iran. Oman's Sultan will also meet with other Iranian officials during his visit. Now, the Omani monarch is the first head of state to visit Iran since Rouhani took office earlier this month. The two nations have always had good neighborly relations. Well, let's switch over to Madison, Wisconsin, joined by American philosopher James Fetzer to help us take a look at the significance of this visit. Thank you so much for being with us. Tell me about it. In the middle of all this, while Iran, basically the West, is trying to more and more isolate Iran, talk about the significance of the Sultan's visit to Iran.
Well, the inauguration of President Rouhani should initiate a new era of relations between nations, as occurs in this instance. Wouldn't it be refreshing if President Obama were to visit Iran and greet him himself? That, however, is most unlikely to happen, given that the American government is dominated by the Department of Homeland Security, the National Security Agency, and the American-Israeli Political Action Committee, which John F. Kennedy wanted to have registered as a foreign agent.
Well, you're talking about the situation and the complexities, for example, in Tehran-Washington relations. Let's expand in general. We're looking at right now as far as the relations with Oman. But in general, do you think that we may be seeing a different situation now that President Rouhani has taken over the realm of the presidency? What about even Western countries and some other countries? How likely is it that they will try to actually get closer to Tehran in the middle of this?
Well, it would be a most welcome development. However, with Israel and France encouraging the UK and the United States to take punitive military action against Syria for a chemical attack that it obviously did not commit, but which falls into the pattern of false flag attacks initiated by Israel after Netanyahu cleverly baited into Obama into drawing a red line over the use of chemical weapons, complemented by the use of the National Security Agency surveillance opportunities to even conduct surveillance on members of the United Nations. The situation does not look overly promising. I believe stability will come to the Middle East when Iran enters into a formal mutual defense pact with Russia and with China. That will put the end to this nonsense.
Well, with the situation with Iran and, of course, the pressure that it is under from international sanctions, how likely, though, will these sanctions continue to have the bite that it has been now that the new president has taken over? And, for example, today with the Sultan of Oman visiting, do you think that we'll be seeing a little bit more courage taking place from various countries in actually not abiding by those sanctions?
Well, the sanctions are inappropriate. They were imposed based upon the assertion of a non-existent nuclear weapons program, just as this brouhaha in Syria is over chemical attacks that were not made by the Assad government. It would be absurd politically for the Syrian government to have made such attacks on the verge of the arrival of a UN inspection team. So while I believe if the situation were rational, if we were dealing with moral nations, if they were acting in accordance with international law, the situation would be very promising. Unfortunately, the reality is very different.
Well, thank you so much for being with us out of Wisconsin. James Fetzer, appreciate it.